Hello, welcome to this episode of the Martial Truth Podcast. I'm going to talk about my recent trip to Okinawa, which I just returned from a few days ago. Couldn't have been better. Was fantastic. Really enjoyed myself. As always, we've actually passed the 15,000 subscriber mark. Actually, almost up to 15,100 already. So appreciate all of you. Couldn't keep doing this without you guys, without the support. So please click that like, share, subscribe button. Consider becoming a monthly member. Now that I'm back with the holidays winding up in a few weeks, we'll get back to producing a lot of new material and get things moving for 2025. All right. So went to Okinawa. Great trip. Helped tremendously by Patrick McCarthy Sensei. I know McCarthy Sensei a long, long time. He went above and beyond helping me out there in Okinawa. Drove me everywhere, took me sightseeing. I was able to introduce him to my teacher, my sensei, Master Shimabuku, who he'd never met. So we both got to spend a little time with him. McCarthy Sensei was nice enough to give Master Shimabuku a copy of his Kion book. So that was great. Was helped there a lot by a lot of different people, got to meet a lot of different people. Each day was an event. Day one, stopped at the Sato Dojo, met James Pankowitz and his teacher at Akaki Sensei, who's 10th Dan in Isshin-Ryu under Shoshin Nagamine. So met him. Same day, went and visited Tokumura Kensho, who's an original student of Tatsuo Shimabuku, and also teaches Tokushin-Ryu Kobudo. So spent some time with him. He was nice enough to let me take photos of a lot of the old photos he has and different things. We went out to lunch. Great, fantastic. Hadn't seen him in quite a long time. We first met in 1998, so it was great. It was great seeing him. Later on that afternoon, we went and visited with my teacher, Master Kichiro Shimabuku. Spent some time at his house, went out to dinner. Again, great. Couldn't have been better. Day two, we wound up going to the Karate Kaikan. So it was my first time there. The last time I was in Okinawa, they were still building it. So it's now open. Beautiful building. Absolutely beautiful. The museum they have there is great. A lot of cool things to see. Really, really interesting place. I'm thinking about possibly in the future organizing some Isshin-Ryu seminars there, where we try to get people come from all over the world to attend some Isshin-Ryu seminars at the Kaikan, which I would run. I would run the seminars. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I'm thinking about planning it over the next couple of years. All right. Also went to a few islands, including Hamahiga, where I got to practice Hamahiga no Tuifa on Hamahiga Island, which is a lot of fun. Island's beautiful. It's a tropical island. It's fantastic. So really enjoyed going there. Visited a few castles. What's left of the castles. Again, very interesting. Really enjoyed that. Visited Murasaki Mura with McCarthy Sensei and his wife Yuriko, and I have again, high praise for her also, putting up with me visiting there for several days. Inviting me into their house and taking care of me and really being great. Okay, so again, couldn't have been better. Visited with, just want to mention Dan Antonsen, who's a senior Dan in Goju Karate. He was nice enough to pick me up at the airport. Drove me around a little bit. We had lunch the one day with James Pankowitz from the Asato Dojo. James used to run the dojo bar, sadly, which closed during COVID, as a lot of things did. Okay, I'm wearing my dojo bar T-shirt that James was nice enough to give me. So other days, went to Murasaki Mura, which is an old film set used to film a series on the Ryukyus in the early 1990s. They decided to turn it into a tourist attraction. It's literally like stepping back in time on Ryukyu in Okinawa. All right, the old buildings are all still there, so that was a lot of fun. Posed for some funny pictures while I was there. pretending to be an Okinawan king. Both my wife and kids got a big kick out of that. So yeah, and then we also, I met Scott Mertz, who was nice enough to give me a copy of his new book that's coming out soon. And all these people are going to come on the podcast over the next several weeks. So you'll get to hear from all of them and hear what's going on in Okinawa from them. Scott Mertz, who studies Ruho-Ryu, it's a system that he actually created after studying Okinawan karate for many years. Went with him, was nice enough. Him and McCarthy Sensei took me to Tatsuo Shimabuku's Haka, which is his grave site, okay? Went to go there and pay my respects. That was my first time doing that. I had asked Master Shimabuku if it was okay that I do that. He said, of course, which was, gracious of him. So we went there. So that was nice to be able to do that. Visited the Kion Monument, the monument dedicated to Chotoku Kion, okay? And again, I'll be posting photos on Facebook, and there'll be a photo collage at the end of this podcast, so you can see some of the photos and see what went on. So also was nice enough to sit and meet and talk with James Pankowitz and Dan Antonson one day. And James invited me to teach a class that night at his dojo. He was very interested in knife defense, so I taught a class on knife defense, which I'll post some of that video, soon on the channel, so you'll get to see. Some things interesting, right? Again, I still have the same feeling that so the number one tourist attraction on Okinawa is karate. There's actually offices set up to promote karate tourism on Okinawa, which is great. I mean, anything that helps the island, I think is great. I'm all for it. But again, my concerns are that we're losing the original intent of karate. There's too much emphasis on sport. There's literally zero emphasis on self-defense. Now, discussing this with some of the Westerners that are living on the island, they were quick to remind me, and I get it, that Okinawa is incredibly safe. It's incredibly safe. They don't really even need self-defense. I get it, but here's the problem. Karate's original intent was to be a method of self-defense. And if we lose that and completely eliminate that, are we doing karate? I mean, personally, I don't think so. So I think the Okinawan masters need to take a step back, and I think they need to, begin to emphasize also self-defense and rediscover the techniques that aren't being taught. And rediscover what the original method of karate was all about. And again, it seems that people in the West are more interested in preserving karate in its true form as a method of self-defense, and not just a sport. And again, I have no problem with the sport aspect. I think it helps popularize it. I think it's great. And if that's what you like, great. I want people to be happy. But again, we lose the original intent of karate, it becomes not what karate was. Then what is it? Well, it's not karate anymore, okay? And when you could say, well, it's evolving, well, no, it's not. It's not evolving, all right? It's declining, okay? Again, if you're my age, I mean, you're really that interested in the sport aspect anymore? Karate is a deep study. It's for life. It's for life preservation, both on the health side and on the self-defense side. And I think we need to not lose those things. All right. So that's one of the takeaways. A couple other things. I heard and know that there's at least one senior Okinawan Dan selling rank. Okay. Literally, you can walk in the dojo and you pay him money and he'll issue you a 10th Dan certificate. All right. Obviously, this is a problem. All right. I'm not going to mention who it is, but I'm sure many of you know who it is, okay? And it's sad, and frankly, it's a little pathetic, all right? So the next time you hear someone complaining about Westerners selling rank, well, just realize it's going on all over the place, okay? It's going on in Okinawa, it's going on in Japan, it's going on in China, it's going on everywhere. The problem is it's a human nature problem, all right? So this idea that Okinawa is this perfect island, this peaceful oasis that's a utopia. Look, it's not. It's a beautiful place. In general, the people are incredibly friendly, all right? I personally love going there. I think if you do Okinawan karate, I think you should go there and visit it. It's well worth it. I mean, just the experience of going there and seeing the birthplace of karate is great. And if you have links there in the particular system you're studying, I highly recommend you go there and you train a little bit. I mean, it's good. It's great. It just gives you a different perspective. But again, this idea that it's paradise, again, I think just fooling ourselves, okay? So we need to keep things in perspective and, again, keep it real, okay? Another person I spent time with was Josh Simmers. He was nice enough to have me on his Okinawan Karate podcast, which is not out yet, but it'll be out a few weeks, whatever it is. Really enjoyed talking to him. Josh studies Okinawan Kempo, and he was explaining to me some of the difficulties in studying on Okinawa as a foreigner and now teaching. All right, so that's another thing that's kind of interesting. We have a lot of foreigners actually teaching karate on Okinawa at the behest of their teachers. So it's not like they just took it upon themselves. No, they're like, oh, yeah, please, we want you to teach, right? So it's kind of fascinating. I watched a children's class in James Pankowitz's dojo, and, the first thing that was a little surprising is no children were overweight. Okay, America, let's wake up here. Europe, let's wake up, all right? No children were overweight. Same approach I take, which is making it a little more fun for the kids, okay? And then hopefully the children stick around and go into the adult class where the serious training begins. I think that's important. I think you have a problem in modern teaching where some instructors try to teach the kids the same way they do the adults. Kids don't like it. And then there's the other instructors who run the kids classes, and then they run the adult classes the same way they do the kids classes, and then they wonder why they don't have any adult students. So it was nice to see that the children's class was a little more fun. They were doing martial arts. I mean, a lot of kicking and punching, bow work. They were working it, but there was also a little bit more of a fun aspect. All right, and then James's adult class, which I taught that night, obviously was very serious. And as James said to me afterwards, he felt it was very eye-opening to him and a lot of his students in terms of the knife defense. Again, something I brought up was the fact that I don't see modern Okinawan teachers doing any knife defense. Nobody's doing gun disarms. I understand there's no guns there, okay? There's not a lot of Okinawans doing ground fighting, any type of ground fighting stuff. And as I pointed out, I understand the island's safe, but I'm also sure that some of the students there are traveling. And, if you're traveling to certain foreign countries, it can be a little more dangerous. You may run into something you may have to deal with. So again, I don't understand the non-emphasis on realistic self-defense. So I taught knife defense that night. Again, a lot of the students were surprised at some of the things I explained. So I hope they enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed teaching them, and it was fun for me to teach a class on Okinawa. Okay, so I've now taught a class on Okinawa, and I've taught a seminar in China. So, fantastic for me. I got to do those things. All right. So again, overall, the Okinawan people can't be nicer. The sensei there couldn't be nicer. I was treated fantastic. Give you a few little anecdotes. We stopped in a wine store while I was there. There was an elderly woman sitting there, and McCarthy Sensei was speaking to her. And she asked him, what he does there, and he says, "Oh, I'm Karate Sensei." And he pointed to me and mentioned me being Karate Sensei from Arizona, formerly from New York. And he mentioned to her something, and she mentioned that she knew Chotoko Kian. So I was like, oh, okay, right. So she knew Chotoko Kian herself as a girl growing up, and she pointed in the direction and said, "Oh, he used to live right over there." And then also her daughter's husband, who worked in the store, was also there, and then he chimed in and said his either father or his uncle trained with Kian Sensei. So it just goes to show you, how small the island is, and that the area I was staying in is a big Kian area and a big Isshin-Ryu area. All right. So that was fascinating, just running into her and hearing that. McCarthy Sensei was also nice enough to take me to the bull ring where Matsumoto supposedly defeated the bull. So that's kind of fun. It's not in use anymore, other than for private bullfighting, let's say, where there's some gambling that goes on. But so it was cool to see that. So yeah, overall, a great trip. Really enjoyed my time there. Again, I cannot thank McCarthy Sensei and his wife Yuriko. I mean, they treated me like gold. They were feeding me at their house. McCarthy Sensei was nice enough to literally drive me all over the island. Getting to spend time with Shimabuku Kichiro Sensei was fantastic. He's recovering from a leg operation. So it was good. I got the one day to sit and actually talk with him for about 4 hours, asking him a lot of different questions about stuff. And he's a very quiet and reserved man, and a lot of people don't understand that about him. So it's hard to get him to actually talk about himself. So whatever I got out of him was great for me, and I appreciated him, doing that. I mean, again, we went out to dinner twice. Christian Forion, who's a French citizen living on Okinawa, who trains with Master Shimabuku. He's in the process of writing a book on Isshin-Ryu in French, because he wants to introduce Isshin-Ryu to France. So he's doing that. So he's been a great help to Master Shimabuku. And the Master Shimabuku's dojo will be reopening very soon. So he told me, he says, I'm reopening the dojo quite soon to get things going again. He's limited. He'll be limited as far as what he can do, but he has some people there that are going to be helping him teach at the dojo. Okay, so for those of you that were asking about that, overall, the trip was fantastic. I couldn't have asked for more. McCarthy Sensei's got an updated version of his Motobu book coming out, which adds another 100 pages on information on Motobu. He showed it to me. It's coming out soon. We're going to have him on the podcast again to talk about it. But I saw what's in the book. Highly recommend you get this book. I know as soon as it's out, I'll be getting a copy. No waiting. I'm in the middle of reading Scott Mertz's book on Ruhoru, and finding it very interesting. A lot of really good information in there. And not just on his art, but on Okinawan martial arts in general. And he did some interesting thing with the book, just to give you an idea, using AI. When he produced photos of masters that existed pre-photography, what he did was he sought out descendants. And he took several photos of descendants and used AI to create a composite photo of what the master might have looked like. And then what he did was he showed those photos to the descendants to get their opinion. So this is the photo that AI came up with of your ancestor. What do you think? And he said it was amazing. Everybody's response was, oh, that looks like someone from our family. So, is it an exact representation of the person? No, but it's a cool idea and a cool way of doing things. So even in the Motobu book, a lot of the photos will be enhanced. They'll be colorized. There's a lot of information in the Scott Mertz book. He's going to come on and talk about his book once it comes out. I think it's coming out in January. So we've got some exciting interviews coming up on the podcast, along with some other people I'm not going to mention, but we have some others that I'm reaching out to. Hopefully we can get them on soon too. So there'll be a lot going on. All right. So again, can't thank McCarthy Sensei enough. Dan Antonson for helping me out, James Pankowitz, Josh Simmers, Scott Mertz, obviously Christian Fourier and Master Shimabuku Kichiro, Tokumura Kensho for being so nice when I visited him, and everybody else that helped me out on Okinawa. If I'm leaving out somebody, please forgive me. Oh, let me mention Yuriko McCarthy, okay, for putting up with me for over a week. All right. And the hotel I stayed at, Mr. Kinju, in a room was very good. Very reasonable. And it was great. Quiet, great. Okay. So So yeah, the trip was fantastic. I'll be dropping photos on Facebook every day. There's so many, so I'm just going to drop a handful every day with the different places I visited and stuff. And then I'm going to add a bit of a photo collage after I'm done speaking here. So again, hope you enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed the trip. I'm trying to recover from the jet lag, get back into teaching and practicing and everything else. Please, if you like this, click that like, share, and subscribe button. Consider becoming a monthly member. I will be in New York next month. I'll put a link to the info on that for 4 days, teaching a bunch of different martial arts. One of my students, Dean Mayo, is opening a dojo next month in North Carolina. Okay, he's going to be teaching Isshin-Ryu and Chen style Taijiquan practical method. So I'll put info to contact him if you're in North Carolina or looking for a high-quality instructor. He's one of my most senior students in both martial arts. So you can reach out to him and begin training. If you want to train in Isshin-Ryu, he'll be there. All right, so that's another thing. And yeah, again, great trip to Okinawa, and I look forward to going back. All right, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Take care.